Okay, so good morning, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know who you are on the other side of the computer on or your smartphone, but I'm thankful to you that you are listening to this. And this morning we are going to talk about the knowledge of God. I believe this is one question which is universal in nature. Almost everyone at some point of time, somewhere in their life, would ask this question whether they can know God, how can they know God, is God knowable, can we really know God, or do we have to just be satisfied with our own ideas of God? I have had them, I have entertained those ideas. I knew that these are human ideas, but I did not have any options. That's the best I could do. Um, just to pursue the ideas which people told me about God. Um, and you knew that this is some kind of a midway approach. You need to be a good person. You need to follow what it generally seems good to the best you can, and somehow, or even entertain an idea. Maybe God is just a philosophy. Maybe there is no God. Those kind of things. And um, but I'm bringing the biblical perspective. What does Bible say about knowing God? And the first thing is that God is knowable. God desires people to know Him. And wherever you are in your knowledge of God, this brings me to the second point. uh, the knowledge of God is progressive. That means we can grow in knowing God. um, the third one is God is incomprehensible by human mind, which means without the Spirit of God, you cannot know God. You cannot invent. Like, for example, a computer cannot know man. Man created the computer, and computer is a lower being, and so for a computer to know the mind of man, it's impossible on its own. Man has to tell the computer who he is. And so same way, like, we cannot know God until God reveals himself to us. Now here in Romans chapter 1 in the Bible, Apostle Paul, the first century man, he has impacted millions and billions of life through these centuries. And we are talking about a man with a great stature, a great understanding. And this man talks about himself being a man who is separated unto the gospel. And what's the gospel? The gospel is good news which comes from God. And then that's the only real source for good news. We do get to hear some good news, humanly speaking, and we rejoice in them. We celebrate birthdays, we celebrate anniversaries. Those are good news, but those are like birthday passes, the next day comes the new year. Passed about a month back, and we were all celebrating 2018, the new year, and then it's gone. And then the year has become old already. On 2nd January, the year was old already. However, uh, there is a good news. There is a good news which is eternal. There is a good news which will transform your life. There is a good news which um, will make a difference forever. And that good news is concerned with the knowledge of God. Apostle Paul made it his own task to reveal the knowledge of God to people across the world. And he wrote these letters. And in one of these letters written to the Church of Rome, he talks about the knowledge of God. And he says, he talks about first the bad news. And the bad news is God is angry at people. In Romans 1:18, he says, the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness, all unrighteousness of man, who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. For what can be known about God is plain to them. Wow. Because God has shown it to them. How? Does everybody know God is like across the cultures, across various religions, across human nature, small like from child to an adult to an old man. Does everybody know God? But it says the knowledge of God has been revealed to every man, and it says, for his invisible attributes, his eternal power, divine nature have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made, so they are without excuse. So nobody has an excuse that they were born in certain culture and they did not know God. By the way, every idea of God may not be true. So this accountability of man to know God goes beyond the family lines, beyond the cultural lines. God is universal. There are no different gods for different countries, different cultures. There is one God in this universe. There is one heaven, one hell, one earth. And we are all accountable before God to know Him. And the Bible tells us that a degree of knowledge of God, a seed of knowledge of God is kept within our hearts. With our birth, we were born. God is our Father. And as a son of God, as a child of God, we have a seed within us. We have we kind of know the nature of God to an extent. God is eternal. God is uncreated. God existed before anything in this whole world ever came. This is a beautiful morning. This morning here, I did my Bible reading in my terrace. There is beautiful greenery here. There are birds singing, and an amazing thing. This is the creation. In the sky, I can still see a little bit of the moon. It was very bright early in the morning. This is beautiful. You stand before a waterfall, you look at the mountains and the valleys, you say somebody created it, somebody painted it out, he has to have a sense of beauty in him. Who is he? And we cannot ignore him. And the thing is, wherever you are, this word says they were not thankful. They did not acknowledge what they knew about God. And this actually corrupted them. This got them into worshipping creature instead of the Creator. And that can be a big flaw. You have to reconsider what you are doing. But the thing is, you acknowledge what you know about God. And then the second thing is, you do not reject Him. He may be initiating to you. You cannot say, it's okay if I don't know God. It's a major thing which can happen in your life. It will transform your life. Jesus Christ came and He died on the cross for all of us to know that we can be forgiven our sins and we can know God. You can receive Christ. But if you are not convinced yet, don't worry. There are things which you are convinced about. There are things which you know about God, and you can go in the privacy of your heart to God and acknowledge Him and be thankful and ask Him to reveal Himself to you. And He will. He is a faithful God. God bless you. Have a great day, and we'll be back soon.